this is Anna Maria. Today I'm going to tell you about one of my favorite Greek recipes, one of our family's favorite Greek recipes, and it is a beef, green bean, and potato recipe. And it looks like this when it's done. And here's some other vegetables that we grew in our garden this summer. The green beans in this recipe came from our garden. And here are just some flowers that also came from our garden. Nothing beats growing your own vegetables in the summer. So now I'm going to show you how to make this dish. You just need, this is the most important thing, is I have natural beef stew meat, and I have about 2 pounds of this. If you're allergic to beef for any reason, you can substitute chicken. So I have 2 pounds of that. I have 5 potatoes, which are russet potatoes, that I cut up into about 4 pieces each, and I put them in some filtered water just so that they won't get brown. So those are about 5 russet potatoes. This is about 2 cups of green beans from my garden. You could use 2 to 3 cups of green beans. The amount of green beans and potatoes is flexible, but that's about 3 cups right there. And then I use a can of crushed tomatoes with basil, and that's a 28-ounce can. So the first thing I do here's the onion. I use 3 onions, and I'll show you how I chop them. I usually cut the ends off, and I cut it into a half, and then I make these little cuts in it, lengthwise cuts in it, but I don't cut all the way through. And then I chop it up into small pieces. So that's how I chopped up the onion. Meanwhile, in this stock pot, I heated up 2 tablespoons of this grapeseed oil with a tablespoon of the olive oil mixed in. And I put it on medium heat, a 3 or a 4, to get it to heat up. It's been heating up for about 5 minutes. And you can tell when it's hot enough because if you put a drop of water in there, it makes that crackling sound. So just carefully put the onions in there. On medium heat. As you can see, it's about a 4 here, and I'm just going to keep stirring them around until they're transparent. It takes about 10 minutes. At the same time, I'm going to go ahead and warm a stock pot of just plain filtered water, and we're going to need that later for the meat. So I have that warming on medium heat as well. You can see that the onions are transparent. They don't look white anymore. They're more see-through. So I'm going to go ahead and put the meat in. Now I'm going to brown the meat. So I simply stir it around with the onions until the meat browns on all sides. You can turn up the heat to a 5 or a 6 for this when you're browning the meat. And keep turning it over until you don't see very much pink in the meat. So it's been about 10 minutes, and you can see how the meat is brown on all sides instead of pink. And it's boiling. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take some of this water from this smaller stock pot and pour it in there until it covers the meat. So it's all covering the meat, and I'm going to let that simmer for a while, And you want the meat to continue to simmer in there, and what you want is for the meat to become tender and soft. You don't want the water all the way up here because we're going to add liquid later. So again, you just want to cover the meat with the water until the meat gets very fork tender. And it will get fork tender as it simmers for a longer time. If the water gets below the level of the meat, then you just add some more water until it slightly covers the meat so that the meat can continue to simmer and soften. And I leave the lid just a little bit cracked as it simmers. Okay. Now you can see that the meat has been simmering, and I'm going to take a piece out to show you what it looks like. Here's a piece I can take out here. See how brown it is? And you can see that now I can pierce this meat pretty easily with the fork, and before I couldn't do that. So this is the time when you can pierce it pretty easily with the fork that you can go ahead and put the crushed tomatoes and potatoes in. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put this 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes with, and I like to put it, the one that has basil, crushed tomatoes with basil, because I like to have a little basil. So I'll go ahead and put that can in. And then I will put the potatoes in. So I went ahead and drained the potatoes, and I'm going to go ahead and put these potatoes in carefully as well. The potatoes will cook in the liquid for about 20 minutes. But after 10 minutes, I like to add the green beans as well. And what I do is, I do like to mix the crushed tomatoes up a little bit with the potatoes. And so you'll see that the whole thing will get this kind of red color to it. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous red color. And it's really starting to smell delicious. So you want to make sure that the liquid that you have in there covers the potatoes. And again, since I have this, I can add just a little bit, not too much, just to make sure that the potatoes are covered. And I'm going to go ahead and keep it on a simmer for 10 minutes, and then I'll add the beans. And since I have some fresh basil from our garden, I'm going to go ahead and chop that up and put that in there too. I have a lot of it, but I think, just a few sprigs. And these are just pretty cool herb cutters that I have here. They help you cut the herb into small pieces. As well. While the potatoes are simmering, it's always good to occasionally tilt the stock pot like this and move the potatoes around. Now it's been about 10 minutes that the potatoes are in the liquid, so I'm going to go ahead and add the green beans on top. And I'm going to go ahead and spread them around so that they get into the liquid too. And notice that the liquid is just covering everything. I don't have the liquid all the way to the top, but just covering the contents of the stock pot. I'm going to go ahead and add, don't want to add too much. This is a half a teaspoon. So I'm going to add a teaspoon of salt. So I add a teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to add 1/4 of a teaspoon of pepper. Then I'm going to let it simmer for about 10 more minutes or until the potatoes and beans are tender. And after the potatoes are fork tender and the green beans are tender, it's going to look like this. Like we have started out, this is what it looks like. And you can make the sauce a little thinner if you want, but I like it to be just have a little bit of thickness like that. The potatoes are very tender. I'll show you with a fork. So if you were to pierce this with a fork, see how they break easily, and that's how I like it. And the green beans are very soft and tender. And so you can cook it to your liking, but I really like it when the potatoes and the green beans are, and of course the meat is very easy to cut through and very tender too. So that's what you would want it to look like. And it's just very delicious, one of our favorite Greek dishes, and I hope that you can enjoy it too. And here's the salad that I made to go with this dish today, and this is a Greek salad. And you can tell because it has feta and kalamata olives in it. And also what makes it special today is that I put some cucumbers from our garden in there, and also the mint and the oregano came from our garden. And I will do a video about how I made the Greek salad dressing at some point soon too, so you can see. But there are a lot of fresh things. There are also tomatoes from our garden in there, both yellow and red tomatoes. Thank you so much for watching this video about how to make a Greek beef, potato, and green bean stew. Please feel free to like the video and comment. Leave your comments. And I hope to catch you again on my channel. Thanks again for watching.